This is the planet Mercury. This is what it looks like up close. And this is how close it gets to the sun. Whoa! It is so close that the sun's gravity actually pulls on Mercury and stretches it a little bit. Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system, but it's also the fastest, so it whips around the sun every 88 days, and that means it gets stretched and squeezed by the sun's gravity more than any other planet. But look at this weird thing coming off of Mercury. What is this strange feature? Is it some kind of a cloud? Maybe a giant dust bunny? Something like that has never been seen before. This is something completely new and mysterious. When scientists first spotted this oddity, they named it Mercury's tail, and you're probably wondering, if this is a brand new discovery, how come we didn't see it sooner? Well, Mercury's tail is actually pretty hard to spot because it's made of stuff that is invisible to our eyes. It's not a solid object. Instead, it's a long stream of charged particles like a giant cloud of plasma. That's the same stuff that makes lightning and auroras here on Earth. But just like an artist needs paint and a canvas, Mercury's tail needs something to form around. And that something is magnetic field lines. These lines of magnetic force emerge from Mercury's core, and they stretch out into space like a giant magnet. They're the ones that get all twisted up by Mercury's orbit around the sun. But Mercury's magnetic field isn't strong enough to protect it from the sun's scorching heat. In fact, the sun's searing rays tear these magnetic field lines right apart. Now, if you've ever played with a magnet and iron filings, you may have noticed that when you move the magnet around, the filings seem to come to life and form cool shapes. Well, the sun's doing the same thing to Mercury's magnetic field lines, except instead of iron filings, it's whipping around charged particles of solar wind. And that's the stuff that makes auroras and also Mercury's tail. The sun is ripping those magnetic field lines into a giant spiral shape and flinging the particles into space. But there's one mystery that scientists can't solve. Why doesn't Mercury's tail just keep getting longer and longer? You would think that after hundreds of orbits around the sun, Mercury would have a massive tail stretching all the way out into deep space. But Mercury's tail is always the same length. It never grows or shrinks. Scientists think it might have something to do with Mercury's atmosphere, or rather its lack of an atmosphere. Mercury is the smallest planet in the solar system, and it is also the closest one to the sun, so it's super hot on the side facing the sun. Like, whoa, it's so hot that Mercury's atmosphere evaporates into space. On the other hand, the side of Mercury that faces away from the sun is in total darkness and it is an ice-cold 180 degrees. Now, that extreme temperature swing causes a lot of weird stuff to happen. It makes Mercury's magnetic field all twisted up. And it's probably also destroying Mercury's tail before it can get too long. Scientists hope to solve this mystery in 2025 when a spacecraft named BepiColombo arrives at Mercury and starts taking measurements. Until then, we won't know for sure why Mercury's tail is always the same length. But there are lots of other mysteries that scientists have already solved. For example, did you know that comets have their own tails? Well, not all of them. Comets only develop tails when they get close to the sun. As the comet approaches the sun, the heat and radiation pressure from the sun's rays vaporize the icy surface of the comet, leaving behind a giant cloud of gas and dust. Then the solar wind comes along and it whips that material into a tail that can be over 100 million kilometers long. And here on Earth, our magnetosphere protects us from the solar wind, which is lucky because otherwise we'd all be part of a giant tail. Well, maybe not you specifically, but someone would be part of a giant tail. What do you think is the coolest thing about Mercury? Tell me in the comments below, and remember, space is truly amazing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.